Okay guys, today we're gonna tap into a mysterious part of the Swedish dating world with a fresh perspective from my friend Alina. And where are you from, Alina?
I'm from Ukraine.
I'm so fascinated with cultural differences, and Sweden has such a unique dating culture. I mean, they've even written books about how strange the dating culture is in Scandinavia. So I'm really curious from your side, have you noticed the difference between making the first move? Because this is something in the US and Sweden is so different that like girls will approach you here in Sweden, at least from what I've experienced, whereas there's like a lot more pressure on the guy to like take the lead in the US. What is that experience been
Okay, then it's quite similar in Ukraine like in the States, because in Ukraine for a girl to approach first, that would be kind of like a red flag. Or it would be counted as the girl is like desperate, or she really like wants family, kids, like she's kind of like on her last coach on the train, or whatever you say.
The last coach on the train.
Or she's trying to jump on the last coach on the train.
Got it. So it's like frowned upon if a girl approaches a guy.
Yeah, it's just like we don't do it.
Yeah.
It's just not our thing. And for me, for example, it's both not my culture and it's not my character. So once I got here and my friends, like for example you, were like, if you like the guy, you just need to go and approach him, or like show him that you're interested. And I was like, what? Like, how do you even do that?
I mean, I've never dated Swedish guys before, but from what I've like picked up from talking to my friends is that they are a bit more reserved. So there's nothing wrong about like taking the first move as a woman, whereas in like other countries it's less likely, it seems like. One thing I noticed is very different between Sweden and other countries is that Swedish people in general do not hold eye contact for very long. Like if you go to Germany, for example, you feel like everyone's staring at you, but it's just like the culture of that people lock eyes a bit longer and the eye contact's there. It's the same in the US, and it sort of opens up the door to small talk and opens up the door for people to make an approach. Whereas in Sweden, it's hard to make an approach because as soon as somebody looks at you, they like look away very quickly because they want to respect your personal space in a way. So it's not as inviting for a guy to maybe make the approach here.
Yeah, I think it depends actually where you are. So if you come to a bar and like you're with some friends and like you just look at the guy, like that can be fine. But I mean like in everyday life, maybe like I do notice sometimes guys like just like looking at me, but I do not like respond. I can say again that I'm very like searching girl.
I'm not looking for a man.
How often would you say you would get approached in person in Ukraine?
Like I'd say that there is someone like making a compliment or just like saying something, or like like looking, or just doing something every day. The guys are quite initiative.
They're more taking initiative.
That's maybe the thing, that they are willing and wanting, and like they are taught to do the first move. So it's like if you do not do the first move, like the girl will not know that you actually like her, or like you want to find out more about her.
How often would guys make the first move with you in Sweden, would you say, since you've been here? Not very often.
only I'd say like if, for example, in the street or like in a grocery, it's mostly like men like 50 or 60 plus, like very cute grandpas who are just like very nice, and like they have no problem talking. Like for example, just right now when I was coming to you, I came in and there was a man like maybe 65 years old, and he was like holding the elevator for me, and he was like, do you want to come into the elevator, do you want to join? I was like, yeah, sure. So I ran into the elevator, and then like we had a small talk, which I know doesn't really happen in Sweden that often. So I do feel like men like over 50, let's say, are more open and approachable, and which is like nice. Like kind of like in Germany, it doesn't mean anything, like I will probably never see him again, but it was a nice experience, and it doesn't really mean anything.
So this is kind of interesting, because I just started watching the Swedish Bachelorette with my girlfriend. I'd never seen the Bachelorette in Sweden. So one girl and like, I don't know, 20 guys in this house. And I felt like, because I'd seen the Bachelorette in the US, I felt like the Swedish guys were like sort of kind of awkward. Like when they would go out on dates or like spend time with the girl, it would be the woman who was like initiating the conversation, like taking the lead, driving, asking them the questions. And like a lot of times they like come to hang out one-on-one and they just kind of like stand there and she's like, yeah, how's everything going? And they're like, yeah, it's good. And then they just kind of like wait for her to like take the next step, where I was like, I felt like in the American Bachelorette, like the guys were like doing crazy stunts and fighting for the attention and the drama. I mean, America is just like a very dramatic place in general, I would say, which is not always a good thing. But I mean, it makes the TV really interesting. So.
But I can say that it's quite similar in Ukraine. That the guys are. I don't want to say that they are expected to do certain things, but it's just more of a culture, let's say. And this is a common theme that the guy like makes the first move, and he like shows to the girl that he cares, that he like he wants to have a relationship with a girl by like doing certain actions. And like, for example, in the beginning especially, there is a lot of romance and a lot of beautiful dates, beautiful moments. The guy shows that he has serious intentions rather than just like, I don't know, messing around for a while and just like not having anything. We do not jump into the relationship or like, intimate relationship right away. So we do need time to get to know the person first, like to get to know you as a person rather than like, getting physical first.
Two things I think are really interesting is like the Scandinavian community, like people that live here, they have a lot of trust with each other. So maybe it's easier when like casually dating, because there's so much trust within like the community and the society, like in general, that there's not as much like pressure or like this sort of uneasiness. But also at the same time, I feel like people have a harder time committing to a relationship. Like I was so shocked coming from my background and my upbringing. Maybe it's like a big city Stockholm thing. I feel like a lot of people would like have co-cause or like basically friends with benefits and be sleeping around with multiple people. And maybe that's just me being older and recognizing it more because I was pretty young when I moved here. I do think that there's less like pressure on getting physically intimate with somebody here compared to what I was used to back home in the US. And sort of like what you're saying, like once you start to get physical with somebody, it starts to signify, okay, this is a more serious, this is like the relationship track. And it's like this book that I just read called Sex Before Coffee. You need to read this book. Actually, I'm going to link this book down below in the description. I'm in this book a few times because I was interviewed for this book. Sex Before Coffee. It's the book about dating in Scandinavia, and very, very interesting because like the name of the book signifies, a lot of times you go out in Scandinavia, you meet somebody at a party or something, and then you hook up, and if the sex is good, then you go up the next day and you have a coffee together, or you go out for a fika date. Whereas in most countries that's backwards. You see if you like each other first and then you get physical. But here it's like you test the merchandise, and is this something that you want to continue with? So completely backwards.
Yeah, it's completely outside of at least my box. But it's interesting, and it is a lot to do with the history. There is always a reason why one or another culture is that or the other way. It's just the way it is, and it's interesting just to see and to compare the cultures and to try to understand another culture. I think it's really important to be open-minded and to be acceptive, right? Acceptive, and just like try to understand other person's point of view. And I think with different cultures there can be something beautiful and new coming out. So for example, once I got back here and I went out on a date with a Swedish guy, it was very special because he made an effort to prepare before meeting me, and he was very, very cute by like telling me that he actually like read on Google, and he found like some videos on YouTube, for example, like how it is to date a Ukrainian girl, or how do you approach
his research.
Yes, he did a research, and it was so cute. Like nobody has ever done that. Like at least I haven't heard that, that Swedes do that before meeting like someone from another culture. He drove me back home after our date. He was like on the way in the car. He was like, there is one thing I want to do, but I'm so afraid to forget about that. So please let me like remind me if I forget by the end of the ride. Okay, like, you know, I was like, what can it be? Like, you know, what is he having on his mind? He brought me home and then he was like, okay, please don't move, don't do anything, just give me a minute. I was like, okay. And then he goes around the car and he opens the door in front of me, and I don't remember if he actually like, what do you say, like
Open the door?
no, but you put the hand, like you
I don't know.
give the hand.
Okay.
You don't do that, so I said, you don't know how to say it.
Yeah. Offered his hand.
Yeah, okay, offered his hand. I don't remember if he did that, but he opened the door and he was like, I read it on the internet that you do that in Ukraine, like guys do that. And I was like, yeah, sure, like they do, but it was so cute, like in his interpretation, because he was like, I've never done it in my life before, but I am willing to do it for you.
That is pretty cute.
So he was cute, and my point was that, you know, by learning and by being open to other cultures, we can create something beautiful and new together, and there can be something really special coming out from that.
I have one last question for you.
Okay.
What is your one of the almost 2 years that you've spent in Sweden? What is like your top number one favorite thing about like Swedish guys?
Good looking? Yeah.
Good looking. Would you say they're good looking?
Yes, they are, definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Then that's a good one to end on. All right, so all you Swedish guys in the comments section, you're good looking. You heard it here first. All right, they probably heard that before.
Or actually, I like always say to my girlfriends once we meet up, like here, like Swedish girlfriends and other cultures, like I say, the Swedish guys have all the potential to be the most wanted man in the world.
So go out there and use your potential.
Use your potential. We believe in you.
See you guys.